Hello everybody and welcome to the FPL Phillips YouTube channel and for another video hopefully where this time we're covering my wildcard draft ahead of game week 9. If you are somehow new to the channel though, then make sure to hit that subscribe button, of course, leave a thumbs up on it if you do enjoy. With all that said, let's get into things and kick things off with the goalkeeping slot, where normally I've just gone for David Raya if you've been following along with these weekly wildcard videos, but this time I've opted to go for Flecken instead at Brentford. And this is partly due to Arsenal, who now have a tougher few fixtures coming up. They navigate teams like Liverpool in the next few game weeks. Obviously, with a wild card, you do want to think more long term, but I could use that extra 1 million outfield. And Brentford have a few nice fixtures coming up. I don't think they're going to keep too many clean sheets, don't get me wrong, but there definitely are some decent opportunities for clean sheets in these next few fixtures. So Flecken at 4.5 million, I think offers pretty good value. The other main option at that price point is probably maybe Robert Sanchez, who also has some difficult fixtures coming up. So that's the reason I've opted to go for the Brentford man between the six. The home game against Ipswich coming up, of course, in game week 9 does look a very nice one as well. So we'll move into defence then and have a look at what is going to be most often a back three. And Gabriel has to still be in here, I think. I know I mentioned with Raya, I don't think the Arsenal defence has been as strong as it has been, and they do have some tough fixtures. In fact, I did think over the first 3 game weeks of the season, Arsenal were quite lucky to keep up a few clean sheets. And now I know they've had red cards, they've had other things that won't be happening, you know, you'd hope throughout all 38 game weeks, at least from an Arsenal fan perspective. But Gabriel still just offers such threat from set pieces that I think he is still worth having in here. And truth be told, you could even bench him in these next 2 games where they have tough fixtures, Arsenal. So the Liverpool fixture and the Chelsea game. The other 3 defenders that I'd be utilising have nice fixtures across both those 2 game weeks, so game weeks 9 and 11. So you could easily start Porro, Robinson and Aït-Nouri, who are the other 3 defenders that I'd be using in this draft. So Porro still comes in here. Spurs have got some decent expected goals conceded data, but he's more just in here for the attacking threat. How he has not returned at least one attacking return in what seems like a while now is crazy. He came in for that kind of scissor kick in the game in game week 8. If you watch that, then you kind of know that Porro's been getting into fantastic positions, looking very, very attacking, even more so last time out than previous game weeks, in my view, from what I watched and my eye test. But the stats are stuff you can look into yourself. Crystal Palace and Ipswich up next in the 2 of the next 3. Very, very nice run for Spurs, as we know. So I think there's 5.5 million worth spending on him there to have a solid defender option to start week in, week out. And then the third spot would be mostly due to Robinson or Aït-Nouri, or up to one of those 2 to come in, and the other one would be as the kind of first sub option on the bench. Now, Robinson is someone I've not seen talked about a lot, but Fulham have been very, very solid throughout this season. They've had some tough fixtures to navigate over the last couple of game weeks, so Robinson now from game week 9 onwards looks like a brilliant, brilliant option, and he was very good early on in this season where he picked up a few returns, was pretty solid. The expected assist numbers for him also still look pretty good. And so with this nice set of fixtures coming up next, I'm definitely one who will be looking to own him, and I think he's definitely the Fulham defender of choice. So if you don't want to go for maybe a Wolves defender, or you already own one, then Robertson could 100% be your guy, and he's still only at, 4.7 million. Now, Aït-Nouri was a tough pick, actually, between him and Semedo. I think there's more debate there to be said, and maybe more comparison to be had if you're on a wildcard to think about which option you'd go for, or even if you're looking at transferring them both in, then definitely do a comparison for yourself and have a look, and even watch the highlights from Wolves games, because Semedo has been getting into very advanced positions, has been creating and actually getting chances himself. So definitely worth a look at the Portugueseman. But Aït-Nouri is still probably just about the pick for me. Brighton, Crystal Palace, Southampton and Fulham up next for Wolves. It looks like a very, very nice set of fixtures for the men in orange. So yeah, he's a bit of a no-brainer and probably one that you're going to see in a lot of drafts, and a defender that you'll see a lot of people moving to this week to maybe fund upgrades in their attack or in their midfield. Speaking of which, we're going to move into midfield now. There's not too much to discuss with Van der Berg. I think he's probably just the pick of the 4.0 million defenders at the moment. Although, what I would say is that even though Greaves at Ipswich is injured, he's probably the more nailed option long term. So I did actually have Greaves in here initially and would maybe go for him if you're confident that you're not going to need a 4.0 off the bench in the next 2 game weeks, because he of course didn't feature for Ipswich in game week 8 as he was out injured. But yeah, Van der Berg or Greaves, as said, would be the 4.0 million option there. In midfield, we've gone with Saka, we've gone with Palmer, and then we've got Mbeumo, Johnson, and Rodgers. So they make up the 5. The 2 premium structure in midfield, I just think has to be the way to go, whether you have Saka and Palmer in there, whether you have Saka and Son, whether you have Saka and Foden, whether you have Palmer and Foden. I think it's kind of just a pick of 2 of those 4 options at the moment. Now, Foden did start on the bench for Man City against Wolves. He came off, managed to get the assist for that Stones goal late on. However, I do think that Palmer's a better pick than him right now, and I do think that Saka is a better pick than him right now. Heung-min Son would be the one who I'd be considering more strongly putting in this draft. He looked fantastic against West Ham United. West Ham kind of did their usual thing where they just kaput as a team at some point in the game, and Son looked very, very good. Looked like that kind of Son where he could easily grab 2 goals or a hat-trick in a game. There's still a bit of debate, actually, as to whether he got the assist for that second goal, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, Saka, Palmer, or Son, I think you've got to decide which 2 of those 3 you're having in your draft. Or maybe even, if you want to take the risk and go without Erling Haaland, who's admittedly looked quite poor recently, then you could even maybe facilitate a midfield with all 3. What would be putting me off that a little bit, though, is that the value you can get in some of these other options does look good. So if you downgraded Haaland, you'd have a ridiculous amount of funds to play with. So unless you're going to whack Trent in and then also upgrade, Rodgers up to Son, you could maybe even get Johnson up to Foden as well, depending on who you go for. You could really, really rip up some structure, but that would require some serious surgery to try and navigate back to Haaland if you wanted to go for him. So I've opted instead to go for Johnson as my Spurs option. More of a budget pick. Didn't get a return out of those 4 goals, which is disappointing and might put people off, but he did look very, very good. He had some decent chances in that game, and he's looked very, very good in previous game weeks. We shouldn't let recency bias change our viewpoint and standing on things, and he's still probably my second favourite Spurs asset behind Heung-min Son, which isn't something very, very popular to say. I think a lot of people like Maddison more, a lot of people like Solanke more, but Johnson is the one that I've gone for in this draft. Morgan Rodgers continues to offer tremendous value at 5.3 million. Aston Villa have some nice fixtures coming up next. They've got Bournemouth at home and Crystal Palace at home across those next 4. And yeah, he just does offer a way cheaper way into the Villa attack that still look decent than the more expensive Ollie Watkins. And then Mbeumo, who's going to be in the majority of sides that you see on a wildcard this game week, or just that have wildcarded in the last 4 game weeks, to be honest. And there's good reason for that. On penalties, Talisman, Vissa's back now as well, which might actually help Brentford out and get some more goals. They were quite quiet against Manchester United. However, I think that, Mbeumo is still definitely a very, very good option. And again, it's that recency bias thing where he might not look like the most exciting pick based on what we've seen in the last 2 weeks of football, thanks to the international break as well. But he's still an option that you probably would be wise to go with on a wildcard this week. And then finally up front, as we've kind of alluded to, there's going to be a structure with Erling Haaland involved. He is in this side still, and he's alongside Matheus Cunha and then also Raul Jimenez. So Cunha is in this side as that Wolves attacking option. I think they looked pretty good against Manchester City, put up a very good fight indeed. They went all the way to the 96th, 97th minute. And Cunha could have easily had that goal that Wolves scored, that the other forward, Strand Larsen, ended up putting into the goal. I think that Cunha's looked very, very good in previous game weeks as well. And again, it's another one where there's not too much to discuss with him and what's happened in game week 8, but as Wolves assets go, Aït-Nouri and Cunha have been the standout picks that you've been looking at and that everyone's been considering over those last few game weeks, and has looked very good so far this season. Penalties as well going his way, of course. And then Raul Jimenez, who, after that Andreas Pereira spot kick, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up taking penalty duties perhaps at Fulham, who have some very, very good fixtures coming up next. Jimenez has continued to deliver, albeit a little bit of a jammy finish in that game against Villa. It was a bit of a trickler, but he did very well to get onto the ball from Leno, and Jimenez is one that I've been backing and kind of bigging up over the last few game weeks. Even when he had that game against Manchester City, I was saying, consider this guy, make sure you look at bringing him in. Not the same troll that he was at Fulham, perhaps. Lo and behold, he continues to get attacking returns. I know that if I transfer him in, then he'll stop doing that and he'll turn into a troll. But if you guys go for him, then you might be safe. So get on him before I ruin him and break him, would be my advice there. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's wildcard video. I hope you guys would like the team. Let me know if you would make any changes to it yourself. yourself, if you were on a wild card, who would you have in instead? Would you even have this structure? Would you maybe lose Erling Haaland ahead of a fixture like Southampton at home, where he's a triple captain potential option? I'm not sure that's particularly wise to do, and I think there's still the funds to play with and have other good options spread around your team and have Erling Haaland in. So for me, he would 100% be in a wildcard draft for this game week. But yeah, let me know any other changes you make in any other positions. Would you still go for a Gabriel? I think you'd be a bit foolish to maybe go without an Arsenal defensive asset at all. But yeah, let me know down below in the comments. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you did enjoy. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, or a great rest of your week if you're watching this at some point from Monday to Friday. And yeah, hopefully I'll catch you in the next video. I'll see you.